particular time thought I was scared of him, that I was afraid. So he said, Floyd don't want to fight me. I'm willing to meet him at 152 pounds or 152 and a half. And me,
I gotta have 4 arms.
I know.
And 6 eyes to be Floyd.
Is Floyd better than you?
Roy Jones Jr. against Andre Ward, Terence Crawford against Floyd Mayweather at 47.
Floyd Mayweather didn't stay quiet after Crawford declared himself the better fighter, and his reaction has only added more fuel to the possibility of a future showdown. Mayweather acknowledged that Crawford's victory over Canelo was impressive, but he reminded everyone that surpassing a 50-0 legacy isn't so simple. He emphasized that he's always been thoughtful when ranking fighters, and even before this matchup, had consistently spoken highly of Crawford, often calling him one of the best pound-for-pound talents in the sport today.
I think wins in a fight, you or Prime Floyd?
Me?
No questions?
Why would you think that I would say Floyd?
I don't know. I thought you'd hesitate maybe even a bit, but no.
Nah, not at all. That's one of my favorite.
What's changed recently is that the discussion has moved beyond mutual respect and into the territory of a real potential clash. This shift was sparked by Canelo himself, the only fighter to have faced both men, when he made a bold statement at his post-fight press conference, saying he believes Crawford is far better than Mayweather. Coming from Canelo, that comment carried serious weight and instantly set off a wave of debate throughout the boxing world. After all, no one's perspective on both fighters carries more credibility than his.
Puts him as the greatest of all time. Now, I know it's hard because obviously you've been with Floyd and a lot of people saying Floyd is great, but does that at least put him in that conversation with your Floyd Mayweathers, your Manny Pacquiao's, your Sugar Ray Leonards, all the greats of the past, and obviously Canelo obviously as well because he'll be there. Does that put him there?
Yeah, for sure. Of course, nobody will ever like Floyd.
Crawford's reputation has reached new heights after moving up 2 weight divisions and defeating Canelo, who had dominated everything above 160 pounds for years. That victory elevated Crawford's status into a different historical tier. The conversation has shifted from whether he's the best of this era to whether he might be the greatest male boxer of the entire century. And in that discussion, the only other name that truly stands beside him is Floyd Mayweather. That's exactly why the idea of a Mayweather versus Crawford showdown has fans and analysts so captivated.
Compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and nice out with Terence Crawford.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
Stephen A. Smith weighed in shortly after the fight, offering a more nuanced take. While he didn't fully agree with Canelo's bold statement, he did draw a thoughtful comparison between the two fighters. Speaking on ESPN, Smith highlighted that once Mayweather moved up to welterweight, hand injuries limited his knockout power. Despite that, Floyd consistently delivered elite performances, relying on his superior skill and unmatched defensive IQ to outclass opponents. Smith then pointed out the key difference. During Crawford's fight, he absorbed some clean shots, whereas with Mayweather, that was a rare sight simply because opponents could barely touch him.
Canelo, just one, please.
Guys, we gotta go. We don't.
Can you elaborate on why Crawford is better than Mayweather? It's just a little bit of detail.
Oh, he can switch. He's very smart guy. He's better.
As contrast, Crawford's willingness to take punches and fire back versus Mayweather's near untouchable defense has become the heart of the debate. Some fans side with Canelo's perspective, arguing that Crawford's willingness to challenge and defeat naturally bigger opponents makes his accomplishments feel bolder. Others agree with Stephen A.'s point, emphasizing that true greatness isn't just about who you defeat, but how effectively you minimize risk and damage along the way.
Of course you got to give it to Floyd. Floyd at that time, Ben, what's up? Floyd at that time versus Canelo was in total confidence. His skill set, his IQ, you know what I'm saying? Everything he do, he was just a complete fighter that night. But I feel like was up against a lot because he was fighting a guy that we knew something about, but we didn't know too much about. People don't understand how much.
Ryan Garcia has also jumped into the debate, but he approached it from a very different angle. Speaking on Ring Magazine's Inside the Ring show, Garcia delivered one of the strongest critiques of Mayweather we've heard from a current fighter. He argued that Floyd altered the sport in a negative way, claiming that his real skill wasn't just in the ring, but in strategically picking when to face opponents. According to Garcia, Mayweather often targeted fighters either before they'd fully matured or after they'd started to decline, avoiding many true prime versus prime matchups. In Garcia's eyes, that's how Floyd changed the game in the worst way.
Career, and Canelo had fought a lot of people, but
Are you at the top of your career in your prime? You in your prime? You ain't in your prime when you were 36. That's not your prime.
did he lose? I mean,
your prime is in your 20s.
It's different for different people.
Yeah, okay. Well, and that's why Canelo was saying what he's saying.
I mean, don't you? I mean,
to make himself look like he did something.
Garcia does give Mayweather credit where it's due, especially when it comes to his business acumen. He acknowledged Floyd as a master at creating massive events and generating hype. However, Garcia views that strength as a double-edged sword. In his eyes, Mayweather's strategic timing of big fights set a trend in boxing where preserving an undefeated record became more valuable than taking on the riskiest challenges. Garcia pointed to his own career as an example, reminding fans that he stepped up to face Gervonta "Tank" Davis in 2023, despite the risks, a fight that ultimately ended in his defeat. He sees this attitude as part of an effort by fighters like himself, Canelo, and Crawford to undo the cautious culture Mayweather helped create.
The divorce.
100%. Crawford is a young gun trying to prove himself, in my opinion.
Garcia's comments hit a sensitive spot because they highlight a clear generational divide. In Mayweather's era, business moves and strategic matchmaking were valued just as much as technical ability. Crawford's era, at least in how fans perceive it, celebrates bold challenges and risk-taking. That contrast is part of what makes a hypothetical Crawford vs. Mayweather showdown so compelling. It wouldn't just be a fight, but a clash between two very different philosophies. Reactions to Garcia's critique have been mixed. Some analysts defend Mayweather, pointing to his long list of Hall of Fame opponents and noting that timing has always been a key part of boxing. Others side with Garcia, arguing that Floyd's perfectionist approach made the sport more cautious and, in some ways, less thrilling for fans.
Who do you think's better out of those two, Crawford or Mayweather?
I think Crawford is better, bigger. He's actually he moved in weight class, and I would say Crawford is a better fight all around fighter. Mayweather's really good.
Floyd hasn't directly responded to Garcia's criticisms, but in many ways, his flawless 50-0 record speaks for itself. Still, analyst Max Kellerman offered a more layered perspective. He acknowledged that Mayweather's resume is far more extensive than Crawford's, and that Floyd possessed superior speed and defensive skills. But Kellerman also added an important nuance. Once Mayweather moved up from lightweight, he became highly selective about when he faced certain opponents. So while his list of victories is packed with big names, many fans still recall the timing of those fights and wonder whether some challenges were strategically delayed.
Have you thought about going for 51-0, beating Mayweather's record with 50-0? Is that something that you thought about?
I already said I wasn't never gonna beat Mayweather record. That's not something that I wanted to do.
Okay.
To be honest, I was gonna retire if I didn't get this Errol Spence fight.
Kellerman then contrasted Mayweather's selective matchmaking with Crawford's mentality. He pointed out that even if Crawford's resume isn't stacked with as many marquee names, his willingness to face anyone anytime stands out. That hunger resonates with fans in a different way. Max even drew a historical parallel, saying that the aura surrounding Crawford right now is reminiscent of Sugar Ray Robinson, the fighter many still regard as the greatest of all time. Robinson's legend wasn't built just on names, but on the sense that he could beat anyone put in front of him. And Kellerman believes Crawford is beginning to create a similar kind of legacy.
Remember, yeah, but he didn't want it with certain dudes at certain times. Crawford, we all witnessed, even though the resume is thin in certain ways, he wanted it with everyone the whole time.
Oh, yes.
That makes a difference to people.
Kellerman also offered a thoughtful caution. He reminded viewers of Roy Jones Jr., who achieved a similar near-mythic status after defeating John Ruiz. At that moment, Jones seemed untouchable, but his later career setbacks dulled that aura over time. Kellerman suggested that Crawford is at a comparable stage right now. His story isn't finished, and the future will shape how his legacy is ultimately remembered. For the moment, though, especially in the wake of his win over Canelo, Crawford carries that same he-can-beat-anyone feeling that once surrounded Roy at his peak.
Saw you before the fight, the Crawford-Canelo fight, and you had a Cavs hat on. This time you've got a GOAT hat on. Is that how you're feeling? I know it says Muhammad Ali, but is that how you're feeling about Bud's performance, about his whole career?
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling that way, man. GOAT. Greatest of all time, man. You gotta give it to him. You gotta give it to him. You gotta give it to his coaches. Not just me, Saul Red, Bernie, Chet, nutritionists, everybody played a part.
Canelo said he's...
The boxing world remains sharply split on the topic. Online debates quickly reignited, with some fans accusing Mayweather of sidestepping Manny Pacquiao during the prime years of Pacquiao's career. Others countered by pointing out that Pacquiao initially declined the matchup over disagreements about drug testing protocols. This back and forth perfectly illustrates how polarizing Mayweather's legacy still is, especially now, as Crawford's own legend continues to grow.
Terence Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147.
At the same time, Floyd hasn't been silent about Crawford's rise. He's repeatedly reminded fans that while Crawford deserves praise, comparisons to him are still premature. Even before Crawford's stunning victory over Canelo, Floyd expressed interest in working with him, going as far as saying he'd be happy to bring Crawford into Mayweather promotions. He even called Crawford the pound-for-pound #1 of this era, a clear sign of respect. But now, with Canelo himself calling Crawford the better fighter and Crawford openly seeking to surpass Floyd's legacy, the once fantasy matchup suddenly feels more tangible. The narrative is building momentum, turning speculation into something that feels closer to reality.